And that really provides my answer to why I suggest, very strongly, perhaps not surprisingly, that there is a role for us lawyers who are independent and independent judges to fight and argue and do our best to correct injustice and oppression. But unfortunately, we can't do it on our own. We need a world in which cases are reported, and we need organizations like CAGE who are not afraid to metaphorically put the legal system's feet to the fire and make us justify our actions. I was reading over lockdown a book by one of my favorite historians, the Southport historian A.J.P. Taylor, and he wrote a book called The Troublemakers, and it's about people who dissented against mainstream British foreign policy. And if I can summarize his argument in a few sentences, it's this: conformity may give you an easy life, but all progress, all advance comes from people who do not conform to the majority. If conformity was the answer and there had been no troublemakers, we would all still be living in the caves. And he specifically addresses the problem, which I feel I've got to address, that somehow talking about terrorism, criticizing terrorism laws, arguing for their abolition, is in any way being an apologist for terror or somehow is unpatriotic. And he says this, and I think it's a good way to end my contribution. As for being rootless intellectuals, troublemakers have been deeply English in temperament, often far more so than their respectable critics. Paine, Cobbett, Bright, Hobson, Trevelyan. What names could be more redolent of our English past? One of them, John Bright, found better words than mine. He was talking about his criticism of British government policy in the Crimea. How indeed can I, any more than any of you, be un-English and anti-national? Are not my family committed irrevocably to the fortunes of this country? Is not whatever property I may have depending as much as yours is depending upon the good government of our common fatherland? Then how shall it be that any man dare to say to one of his countrymen, because he happens to hold a different opinion on questions of great public policy, that therefore he is un-English and is to be condemned as anti-national? I want to commend the thrust of Cage's report. And my view is you can't be doing more to commend the good government of our country than to scrutinise the terrorism legislation and to argue and ask for why it continues to be necessary.